Hey guys, welcome to Galacticast, I guess. This is AD2L Season 9, Starter League, Planets versus We Make Bad Decisions. So, looks like Planets will have the first pick here on the Dire, and they'll go ahead and grab Dazzle first pick. He's a pretty strong support right now. The heals, the grave, but most importantly is that armor. Ridiculous amounts of armor. Looks like Bad Decisions is going to go ahead and grab the Gyro Disruptor. It's actually a pretty good combo. If you can get people inside that kinetic field, you already get a bunch of damage with the Gyro or the Disruptor ult, but the Gyro in there. Not only makes the kinetic field easier to hit because it slows them all down, but also adds in quite a bit of damage. Second support picked up for Planets. It's going to be Lion. I usually dislike picking both supports right off the bat like that because it leaves you a little bit inflexible. You can always tailor your cores to the enemy team, but that's usually you want to tailor your supports to the enemy team, you know, picking up team fight or ganks or defensiveness based on what they pick up versus tailoring your cores to that kind of makes you play a certain way. But it can certainly be good if you get two really high tier supports. Next banning phase, we'll see both Lina and Slardar banned out, two pretty popular heroes. Although Lina a little bit less so recently. Omni Knight also being banned out. And the Witch Doctor to boot. A little bit questionable ban there. They already had the Lion and the Dazzle. Probably didn't need to ban another support. Tusk grabbed for Bad Decisions. Tusk is pretty popular right now. Lots of damage. Shards and Snowball are both really good. He also adds a little bit of tank to the team, which is going to be good. That might actually end up being a support Tusk, which has gained some popularity recently. In that case, you've got a nice and tanky support that's also able to dish out some damage. Third pick is taking a little while here for Planets. This is where they have to grab their first core. Phantom Lancer, questionable against the Gyrocopter, but a relatively good carry overall. Earthshaker is, of course, banned out. Ember is not, and there it is. Yeah, they're really hard banning that PL. Yeah, picking your supports first also means that you have to pick your cores into, or you'd think that essentially picking your supports first would mean that you get to pick the cores later, but a lot of times it can put a lot of pressure on you because then you have to pick a core versus using a support to stall. It's also really useful to use your first pick, or one of your first picks at least, for a core that you know you want to avoid the second banning stage, so perhaps they could have grabbed the Slardar if they wanted it. Instead of grabbing something like the Lion. And that way they can use their support pick on the third one, where it's not really risky to play something and then risk immediately getting counter-picked like they just did. So, suffering a little bit, but also I don't know. PL just seems like the kind of hero that you don't want to pick third. Seems like the kind of hero that you want to pick fifth, especially since they've got that last pick. Wraith King being picked up. That raises some questions in terms of what the lanes are going to be. Wraith King is pretty solid. I think putting him as a carry is a little bit greedy because he can tend to get either countered or do pretty poorly and end up being not that high impact. But putting him on like a 2 or a 3 farm slot can be pretty useful because he'll always have a relatively high impact because of his 2 lives. And if he does go crazy on a 2 or 3 farm slot, then he'll end up being really good. Also tanky, even if it ended up being a support, although I don't think we'll see that happen. Tanky supports with reliable stuns are always good. Last band phase, we're looking at Undying and TA both banned out. Those are both pretty solid bans. I'm actually surprised we didn't see them earlier. Darkseer grabbed up for bad decisions. Here's going to be really great for their already pretty massive teamfight combo. And they are looking at a double melee core so far, so it's not going to be hard to get him in a lane versus a melee. He's also fairly tanky and builds mech really fast. And with that pickup, it's definitely going to be a Tusk support as well for bad decisions. So I think the lanes are pretty obvious for the Radiant here. We're going to have Ember mid, Gyro, safe lane, probably also with a Disruptor and a Tusk in the lane, although the Tusk is probably going to roam a little bit with a Darkseer off lane. And they might go offensive, try and mix the lane around, depending on where Planet sends their carry or where they have their heroes, but that's pretty much going to be the name of the game. So far it looks like Planets needs a mid hero. I don't think you want to go... Yeah, you want to go ranged up against the Ember Spirit. So they'll pick Shadow Fiend, and it's looking like it's going to be Shadow Fiend mid. Probably, I don't know, PL or Wraith King could go off lane potentially. PL, of course, with a very nice Doppelwalk escape, but Wraith King with a bit more tank and lifesteal to boot, and of course with Dazzle and Lion supports. Alright, we're going to move straight into the introductions here. And on the Radiant, we have We Make Bad Decisions, who's captained by Kip on the Tusk, Sam on the Darkseer, Arrow on the mid Ember Spirit, Broden on the support the support Disruptor, and finally Papa on the carry Gyro. Looks like they're going to go for, let's see a smoke on the Tusk here, looks like they're going to go for a little bit of a gankaroo. On the Dire, we have Hiki, with Team Planets, we have Hiki on, looks like a carry PL, and unfortunately DC'd Pule Su on the Shadow Fiend mid. Fire LX on the Dazzle, hard support. Captain Badass on the 4-slot Lion, and finally Gwendril on the... I think it's going to be an off-lane-ish Wraith King. They might do duels. Yeah, the Stout Shield extra salve build makes me think it's definitely an off-lane. It's probably not a carry Wraith King versus the... Well, there's not a whole lot of difference there, is there? I guess we'll find out. Looks like the smoke gank here is not going to mean anything. They are all squarely bottom. A little bit questionable. Usually you want to go to the lane where your safe laner is going to be. So generally Radiant will kind of want to go bottom and Dire will kind of go top. Just because you're much closer, you don't have to spend so much time walking, but we'll see what happens. Obviously at this point they've realized that they're probably not at the rune, and they're going to probably just... Yeah, they're just going to grab the rune and back. Definitely looking at Shadow Fiend and Ember Spirit getting these runes here. Yep, looks like we've got the Wraith King down here in this bottom lane. Depending on how many heroes they put in here, that's going to be a difficult lane for him with the, I guess that's all 3 ranged heroes, or not all 3. You've got 2 ranged heroes and a Tusk. Lots of initiation, lots of stuns there. It's really easy to hit snowball kinetic fields, so potentially pretty hazardous for him. But he will have a Dazzle in his lane as well. But he actually grabbed Shadow Wave right off the bat. I usually like to save my point on Dazzle. Sometimes you need the heals, sometimes you really need that level 1 Grave, so that could potentially be a mistake, but this ward will spot out a gank attempt right now. Yeah. Still going to be a relatively tough lane for the Dire, I think. Top lane is going to be solo Darkseer up against that PL, but he'll have a Lion to help harass out of the way. Unfortunately for Lion, Darkseer hits much harder level 1, and he also has this Stout Shield. Probably really important lane is going to be mid. Both of these mids need a lot of farm to be able to turn on, and so if one of them could get a severe advantage over the other one, it's going to be pretty big for later on in the game. So let's go ahead and take a look at the CS. Right now, number 1 is Arrow on the on that Ember Spirit mid. He's actually beating out the Shadow Fiend pretty seriously there. It's 6-3 now, and also tied is the Sam on the Darkseer top. That's pretty good. PL's only got 1 so far, and that's the power of that Ion Shell. Just so hard to last hit in the lane when you got the creeps doing shitloads of magic damage to you. Good lane control by the Radiant side there. No camp's blocked. The camp is blocked here for that Darkseer though. That's going to be nice. And there's a regen rune bottom. My guess is that Kip is going to go spot that. But the absence of Tusk has made the Wraith King a little bit more ballsy. Yeah, indeed he did. Mid lane, a little bit of contact here. Nobody dies, but quite a bit of damage going the way of that Ember Spirit. Tusk actually moves into position a little bit here. Let's check the vision out. Unless the game doesn't want me to check the vision out. Yeah, he clearly just came within vision there. That's a really, really hard side to gank on, even as a Tusk. Unless you're invisible, there's like the range of the tower right here to detect. Even then, even if you're invisible, the range of the tower goes, well, like yeah, all the way out to here. It's really hard to get a gank on from this side. This side is much more doable because you've got this high ground here that you can use, and also just because you don't have to deal with the tower in your way, whereas here, the tower starts shooting you the instant you get close to that lane. And again, I think we've seen gyro games with Papa before with that early homing missile, and I really disagree with it, but I guess if he continues to grab it, it's working apparently, but I don't know. It just seems like a waste of mana. Looks like the CS leaders are still that the Ember Spirit and the Darkseer up here. Both doing pretty well. Although Polisu has caught up a little bit up with the Shadow Fiend since he's got some of his souls up and running now. Yeah, he's about par. I'm actually relatively surprised that we haven't seen any kills down here yet. Obviously, Dazzle reaching level 2, Shallow Grave makes that a little bit harder. But there's still a lot of potential for, honestly, both teams to go on. The Disruptor's really squishy, and with the Grave and heals, it wouldn't be too hard for the Dire to grab a kill, even. But we'll see if the haste on this Tusk will result in anything. They did see him grab it, though. Let's do that ward right there. Pause coming out from the Radiant here. And it looks like the gyrocopter is lagging. Interesting, it looks like Lion has gone ahead and grabbed the Mana Drain level 1. I like Mana Drain level 1, or a single level of Mana Drain early. Obviously, you need it for, you know, getting mana from the creeps. But against a Darkseer, it's probably not going to be that great because you need that Hex to stop him from casting Surge. You need the stuns, but perhaps he said, we're not going to kill him, forget it. I just want my mana. Tusk here again with that haste, just now fading. Fortunately wasn't able to make much use of that. Yep, unfortunately for the Wraith King and Dazzle here, they've got almost no CS in this lane. It's, like I said, it's going to be a pretty tough lane for them. And I've noticed some denies, and of course they have gotten a few, but against the multiple ranged, and with the threat of getting absolutely murdered, they have to play pretty safe. Right, reaching about the 5-minute mark here, and looks like the Bad Decisions team has garnered about a 1k gold difference here. Standard CS stuff. But that's also actually, and I'm sorry guys I missed it, but bottom lane I was just mentioning how dangerous it was to get out of position there, and sure enough the Dazzle bites the dust. And that first blood actually did manage to go the way of the Gyro. And I think actually the rocket was what finished him off, so maybe that's the key ingredient there was level 1 rocket. Oh, also looks like they've just barely managed to miss another kinetic field on the Wraith King. Dazzle will TP back in, of course. Disruptor being gone on pretty hard, but that Wraith King cannot stand up to the rocket barrage, which is just ridiculous amounts of magic damage. Mid lane, Arrow on that Ember Spirit has managed to grab an Invis rune, but I think, yeah, they definitely saw that happen, so the Shadow Fiend is going to have to get back. And as of right now, the Shadow Fiend has actually passed the Ember by a few CS here. Not really much happening with his Invis rune. It's going to be really hard for Ember to kill Shadow Fiend unless he can get use all 3 of his Fire Remnants and just burst him down. But that's going to be pretty hard to do because Shadow Fiend moves fairly quickly. He has invested in boots. And of course Ember is pretty squishy, so if he has to dive that tower, he's probably going to go down as well. So we've got lots of stacks on this camp here. That's going to be really good for the Gyro to clear. He has grabbed Flat Cannon level 1, which is good. He'll be able to clear the stacks pretty easily. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen any rotations from Lion to stack the jungle here. The Shadow Fiend could really make use of it, and the Lion isn't doing a whole lot in the lane. Oh. And Dazzle gets killed again. He didn't actually get to Grave there. That's pretty tough. Must have been stunned out by the snowball. And probably the rocket as well. Yeah, like I was saying, the Lion probably isn't doing a whole lot in the lane here. He could potentially protect the PL from dying from Darkseer, but with Doppelganger, the PL's not going to die to Darkseer. So it seems like he could probably be of way better use in the lane, although an early 6 on the Lion could lead to a gank middle or something. Haste rune for the Shadow Fiend. He'll pop it for the mana, go grab the bottom rune. Yeah, now as we're reaching 8 minutes, the first set of wards are expiring. He'll also manage to grab that bounty rune, and that's a very dangerous place for the Tusk to be, and he'll get raised up and dead. We do have a glimpse available on the Disruptor, but damn, that Shadow Fiend hits hard. Rocket comes out. Looks like the Ember Spirit is here as well. The Darkseer's managed to teleport here too. Really good in with the shackles. Arrow's taking a lot of damage here. He'll go down, but so will the Wraith King. Teleport's coming in. There's the Tusk again. The Lion is here as well. Good glimpse back. Dazzle pops the Grave pretty early, but he'll be okay with that TP. Snowball in on the Lion. Oh, that's very, very dead Lion, who's just shy of level 6. Overall, I believe it's a 2 for 2. And unfortunately, it didn't count the entire fight for us, but probably win about even. Let's see what the gold graph has to say. Yeah, because the rating was a little bit up there, and ends up being roughly a wash with a slight favor for the Dire there. And of course, also the Shadow Fiend grabbing one of those kills got him quite a bit of gold. Yeah, he stands a full 1,400 gold ahead of the Ember Spirit now after that kill. Oh wow, look at that! So close. Very, very unfortunate for the Dazzle. And some fighting over 10-minute rune. Shadow Fiend's headed down there though. And he's actually managed to finish up his mech just now. Also, the Darkseer being gone from top has eased a little bit of the pressure off the PL, and he's getting caught up. He's not fully caught up, but it looks like an Ember Spirit is headed in to maybe try and get a gank here. That's a hard hero to gank though, without a lot of dedicated stuns. Yep, there's that mechanism for the Shadow Fiend really early at 10 minutes. That's going to be really strong for any kind of early game team fights that happen, or any kind of pushes that they want to try and pull off on the Dire. Speaking of pushes, looks like they'll get quite a bit of damage on that T1 mid. Bottom lane, Wraith King a little bit out of position. They do have a glimpse. He'll get stuck inside the field. The Disruptor also being stunned up, but the snowball goes in. Heavy rocket barrage. Gyro ult coming down. Lion will TP in, but the Wraith King will be okay. Looks like Shadow Fiend did TP here as well. Mostly a wash. Both teams sending people back. Oh, but the salve will actually allow Wraith King to stay inside the lane. Top lane, meanwhile, Lion TPs, uses that level 6, grabs that Darkseer. Level 1 Lion ult, level 1 Lion ult, very, very powerful. It does way more damage than even Lina's ult. But of course, the cooldown is way longer. Taking a look at the net worth now, yeah, the Shadow Fiend has certainly taken off quite a bit from where he was earlier in the mid lane, and the PL has managed to catch up to the Ember now, but the Gyro is still sitting pretty far ahead of the PL here. Ultimately, I don't think PL is going to have that much of an impact on the game because of how countered he is. As soon as Ember Spirit gets a Battle Fury, and even then with the Gyro Flak Cannon, it's going to be hard for PL to really go crazy. I think it's going to be a lot in the Shadow Fiend, and of course if the Wraith King can start to turn on, it's going to be where a lot of the damage is coming from for the Dire. Shadow Fiend actually electing to walk back to base to get some mana. Kind of questionable there. I guess he wants to save the DD, but he wastes a lot of time in CS doing that. It looks like both of the supports for the Radiant have actually left the Gyro alone. He's doing okay by himself, and I don't think the other supports have realized, but it looks like something is about to go on mid. We've got Dazzle TPing in. Lion ult ready in 60 seconds. DD popped by the Shadow Fiend. Both the supports move in. Arrow just senses something, and he backs away there. I guess they just wanted to push and get that T1. It's a good play. That'll reduce momentum, or a lot of mobility for the Radiant there. With the DD, looks like they're going for the Roche Pit. They don't have a medallion. They could just be ganking the Gyro bottom, I think. Also, no vision means that they do not see this happening. Oh yeah, they're ganking Gyro pretty damn hard. No pings. That is a very dead Gyro. And there's the stun. In comes the Lion, who's also going to stun him up. And DD Shadow Fiend, yeah, way too late on the response there. I guess maybe it didn't catch it, but they did have a sentry ward. They might have dewarded that. Unfortunately for the Tusk, he also did TP in, but juke through the trees and he'll be okay. Top actually looks like they're trying to go on this PL here, but he'll be okay. Got pretty low though. Unfortunately missed Disruptor ult. And they're sieging bottom tower. This is where that mechanism really comes in handy. Not only the activated mechanism, but the passive can also just do a lot of work. Keeping your creeps alive, keeping your heroes alive. Mango popped by Kip here, just trying to get away from the Wraith King, who's got stunned, and he's... Wow, really good timing on that snowball there. And he'll manage to get away after he almost got critted. Of course, the tower will fall here. So that's another tower claimed for the Dire. But in the meantime, Arrow did manage to push down the T1 mid tower against the Dire. Gold graph, pretty massive swing there from about 1700 to 500 in favor of the Dire there. That's a pretty big gold swing. All those towers taken and the kill on the Gyro, both pretty big in net worth there. It looks like the PL will be heading straight for a Yasha, actually, not going for Diffusal Blade. I usually, well, obviously Diffusal Blade is one of the best items on PL, even against like the heroes that he is up against, especially against Ember. If Ember doesn't have mana, he can't kill you. And even with a level 1 Battle Fury, or even with a Battle Fury and quite a bit of damage, an Ember without his abilities is not an Ember that can kill a PL. So Diffusal Blade is almost always the preferred item build, especially against heroes that are mana dependent. And unfortunately for Wraith King, he did TP right in front of that Disruptor. He gets sent back. Lion moves in. He's moving really fast with those Tranquil Boots onto the very unfortunate Disruptor, who's going to get stunned up and won't get his ult off, unfortunately. Dazzle's also here. He'll be able to grave up that Lion. Gyro ult is dropped. Pia will juke out, but he's still taking quite a bit of damage from that ult there. And he will get bursted down by the Fire Remnants there. Also Dazzle, while being dropped, gets hit by the Iron Shell. Shadow Fiend ult being used. And the Lion, of course, finishing him off with that ult available again. Overall, 2 for 2. Net positive of about 200 gold for the Dire there. Although, a lot of that money did come from their carry there, PL dying. He did manage to grab his Yasha before he died, though. And they're also going to grab another tower from this. Doesn't look like a fort's going to come out anytime. Oh, there's the Fortify. Good kinetic field, catches that Wraith King out of position. Disruptor ult lands, doing quite a bit of damage, but he's got his ult ready. Tower goes down. Shadow Fiend is getting pretty low, and it looks like they will actually re-engage here. Gyro going pretty hard. He has his ult in 3 seconds, but he's getting really low. Magic Stick back up. Gyro ult is available. Unfortunately, Fire Remnants missed quite a few heroes. Gyro ult is laid down again. Ember Spirit going down to the raises there. Gyro ult doing quite a bit of damage as well. PL going hard, grabbing the Tusk too. That's 2 for none. And a really split up engagement. But it looks like they don't quite want to re-engage. That's quite a bit of gold. You know, there's something like 1,300 gold going the way of the Dire there as well. Even more if you consider the tower too. So that's going to be a pretty big gold drop. Yeah, in fact, if you look at the net worth, looks like the Shadow Fiend is a good 2k gold ahead of the next cores. PL still not doing incredibly well comparatively, though. They're about on par. That Shadow Fiend is starting to do pretty well, and he's almost to his BKB, actually. That's going to be pretty big, too. A lot of the damage they've got on the Radiant is magic damage. No more Vacuum, no more Disruptor ults. No more Gyro ult damage, that kind of stuff. Pretty nasty. When you consider they won't be able to get that kind of stuff off. I think the main issue in that fight, I think the Radiant probably could have won it, but they used the wall a little bit earlier. They used the wall up here. So they didn't have the Vac wall that they needed. The Disruptor, I believe he got killed earlier on in the fight, unfortunately. So that was no Disruptor ult there. So they managed to pick off some of their team fighting heroes, and they didn't have all of their ults. And the Dire certainly has a much better long-term team fight oriented team. Top tower being denied by the Dazzle here. Bottom tower is being sieged by the Radiant here, but it looks like the Dire want to defend this. Hey, Shadow Fiend is hasted up. Arrow sensing something with that Lion moving in. They'll Remnant back. Tower getting pretty low, but not quite within deny range. And it looks like both teams are funneling both of their guys here. All ults are available except for that Wraith King ult, which was pretty critical in the last fight for slowing everybody down, using up a lot of their abilities. Oh, that's right. The last fight, actually, Disruptor ult was used to kill the Wraith King the first time. No BKB yet for that for the Shadow Fiend though. So we've got a Radiant Ward here. So they know that the rest of their team is there. So they're gonna go ahead and back up and get a bit more farm on their cores. And Jaro finishing up a Sanj now. Definitely going to be turned into a Sanj and Yasha later. Arcane Boots for most of the supports, I believe. Unfortunately, Tusk is not doing quite so hot on the money. 4 staff being grabbed by the Lion. That's pretty early. Pretty good too. Although I do prefer Blink for sure on Lions. You need to be able to get quite a bit of distance into the stuns. Blink Dagger on the Wraith King, also really good. He's, like I said, he's got a really reliable stun. If he can get right in front of the enemy, make them kill him, it can be a really good initiation tactic. Yasha being grabbed for the Phantom Lancer here. It's going to be turned into a Manta eventually, but it looks like he's probably going to want to go for that Diffusal Blade now. BKB recipe and a DD grabbed it for the Shadow Fiend now. It's on the way in the courier. That's going to be pretty big. Like I said, that stops a lot of the team fight that the Radiant have. But they do have quite a bit of physical as well. The Gyro certainly is going to put out quite a bit of physical along with the Ember Spirit. But we'll see if they can take him down with that BKB on. Oh, looks like the Darkseer's also managed to grab a mechanism as well. That's pretty important. He's got quite a bit of gold saved up, so we'll see if he's going to turn that into Greaves or if he's going to make that into a Blink Dagger. Both pretty good. Now that both teams have a mechanism, it's not going to be as high impact as it was. Obviously, the mechanism did a lot of work for them in the past few team fights. The smoke being brought out to the Dazzle here. They're going to try and Smoke Ink. And here it comes. Lion first. Of course, he's got that 4 staff for a little bit of movement. Actually, both teams end up smoking up here. And they'll mostly miss each other. It looks like the Tusk is going to pop first, but so does the rest of the enemy team. Here goes the Disruptor ult down on 2. Grabs Kinetic Field in there as well. BKB pop for the Shadow Fiend. Tusk goes straight in. Requiem of Souls doing quite a bit of damage. Gerald going down. Darkseer Wall actually only grabbing 1 illusion here, but the Wraith King ult is ready as well. Shadow Fiend glimpsed back after that. BKB is now done. He's stuck inside the kinetic field and doing ridiculous amounts of damage with that Dazzle armor on. And that 1 Shadow Fiend illusion just doing so much damage as well. So mostly a wash there, but it'll be 2 for 1 for the Radiant. And, well, actually that's about 1k gold swing. That's pretty good. No massive losses, though. I was actually a really pretty good play by the Disruptor there. He managed to see that the team fight was happening, get that Disruptor ult off, and it stopped a lot of the nasty stuff from happening. I think it was actually the PL and the Lion that got stuck in there. Those are the ones that ended up dying. And back to farming it is. Yeah, both of these teams certainly have lots of late game contingencies, so we haven't been seeing a whole lot of fighting, and we probably won't see a whole lot of fighting until it gets quite a bit later. And if we're lucky, both of them will farm about equally as they have been, and we'll end up seeing a pretty good game. Yep, right down the line after that team fight, it's just about almost not even positive 500 for the Radiant there. It is noteworthy, however, that the Shadow Fiend did manage to keep his 2k gold lead. The big difference now is that you've got 3 cores, each over 1,000, 1,000 more gold than the next leading core on the Dire there. Can you guys hear this? Does the game still have sound? Actually, looks like we're going to have a team fight breakout here. PL gone straight onto. He'll get stuck with the Disruptor ult. Dazzle also taking a lot of damage in there, but he'll go down to the Gyro ult there. Mechanism used for the Darkseer. Ember Spirit will go down on the sidelines here. Wraith King still no ult. Getting mech'd up. Once again, it's another 2 for 1. The PL going down. PL and Dazzle this time for the Ember Spirit there. Another pretty good team fight, but Shadow Fiend once again increasing his gold lead pretty significantly. Smoke Gang for the Radiant here. And they're going to run into a Lion and a Wraith King here, who still does not have his ult. And he's going to get stunned up by that snowball, and he'll go down to the gyro. A little bit out of position there, especially without much vision. This was a little bit questionable positioning there from the Lion as well. I'm surprised they didn't notice the Lion and go for him too. But yeah, the Wraith King unfortunately really close to that level 11, which he needs to grab before he dies again. Looks like the Shadow Fiend is going to go ahead and turn quite a bit of his money into a Helm of Dom. No doubt we're going to see that turn into a Satanic later, but the Lifesteal is certainly going to be very useful for him now, along with the damage, the armor, the tankiness that comes with it. Ember Spirit a little bit out of position here, but he sees the Shadow Fiend and will back immediately. And I think the point booster here on the Disruptor is actually going to turn into an Aghanim Scepter. That's not a very common item for Disruptor. It's pretty good because it prevents item use within his ult, which is obviously really good for preventing things like BKBs and Force Staffs, all that kind of stuff. But it is pretty expensive to build. I believe it adds a little bit of damage, but it's, like I said, it's a pretty expensive item for a 5-slot Disruptor to buy. Looks like Gyro has also managed to finish up his Dom along with the Sanjin Yasha as well. Tusk managing to grab up his Arcane Boots, still pretty poor though. And of course the first Battle Fury done for the Ember Spirit here. He also has something coming to him on the courier. It is Boots of Travel. That's also a pretty important item for him. PL almost to that Diffusal Blade, but struggling to get there. Darkseer actually did manage to go for that Blink Dagger instead of the Greaves. That's a pretty good move. The Greaves are nice. I guess they mainly free up an item slot, and the Purge is also pretty good. Since there's not a whole lot of negative debuffs to Purge, I think Blink is probably the better idea. And of course you can still go Greaves later. Looks like Invis Rune on that Shadow Fiend there is being used. Actually, almost the entire Dire team is in the Radiant jungle here. Just managing to farm up a little bit. The Radiant supports tentatively checking out their jungle, but they'll TP away to go farm other lanes. And it looks like PL has managed to finish his Diffusal Blade. That's going to be a pretty big item, especially against heroes like Ember Spirit, who really need that mana to be able to get away, to be able to use their abilities to do a lot of the damage that would be effective against the PL. But we'll see. We'll see if it's enough. Now he needs to get tanky. He doesn't even have 1000 HP. If the Ember Spirit manages to catch him with more than a couple of his illusions, along with another hero or two in there, that's going to do a lot of damage. But this game has mostly seen PL getting caught out by the Disruptor ult. Of course, the silence preventing the Doppelganger and the escape away. Really weird about the sound, guys. I'm sorry, I'm trying to fix that while I'm casting here. And actually looks like the Greaves have been picked up by the Darkseer here. Maybe I could do Smoke Gank actually by the Radiant here. I'm going to try and get that sound fixed when there's not something exciting happening, but this might just be a Roshan smoke, so they go and check. They're not going to do it. No Medallion on the Tusk would make it pretty hard. And they might translate this into a jungle gank, maybe? Smoke doesn't have too much longer to last, but they could find the Shadow Fiend if they look for it. Ember Spirit was never in the smoke in the first place. And they'll just barely miss that Shadow Fiend. Smoke is popping right now. Ember being gone on by the Lion here, being stunned up again. It's already a chicken. Lion ult going down. The Ember will be grabbed. Really good Vac will grab 2, but of course that Shadow Fiend BKB going in there. Tusk also dying after that really powerful Requiem of Souls there. Gyrocopter also taking quite a bit of damage. Gyrocopter unfortunately also falling. Kinetic Field. And he'll be able to TP away. Overall, very unfortunate. Smoke non-gank there. I think the Ember Spirit maybe dove a little bit too deep under the tower. He thought that his team had his back, but the entire enemy team was basically sitting back in these dark bits right here. And that'll probably translate into a mid-push that we're going to see. I would be surprised if they didn't take the tower. With Ember Spirit, 30 seconds along with the gyro. So I'm going to try and work on my sound now. Alright, I think I might have the answer. If it starts playing sound, let me know. I'm really sorry, guys. I've never had that issue before. Sound not playing. Actually, now it looks like the Shadow Fiend is going to manage to grab an AC here. It's a little unconventional. Usually you see something like a Daedalus, but the armor's certainly going to be quite useful. And also Plate Mail for the Wraith King. PL's managed to finish up his Manta here. That's going to be a pretty big item. More illusions. Be able to juke out quite a bit of stuff as well. Any kind of stuns. With Jera getting a little bit closer to his Ags as well. About 2k gold for Darkseer. Nothing too obvious yet. Choices after this, obvious choices are things like Ags, maybe Shivas. Make the wall just that much more powerful. Wow, and a full 4k gold for pump on that gyro there. Just kind of saving it up. And he'll buy BKB straight up. That's a good move, especially against things like Lion. The PL mana drain will be stopped by that. With a Medallion on the Dazzle and a lot of damage on that Shadow Fiend, I would not be surprised at all if we see a Roche within the next 3 or 4 minutes. Alright, also with the pause here, I'm going to go ahead and that's weird. With the pause here, I'm going to go ahead and try and fix the sound a little bit more. Actually, guys, I might... Oof. I don't want to turn the stream off and back on again. But that might be what makes it work. That appears to have worked. Yeah, okay, that definitely worked. If you guys can hear me, you guys are still here. Sound is probably working out, and sure enough, the Roche gets done immediately after we mention that. They are finishing him pretty fast. And it looks like the Radiant does know what's up, but I don't know if they're going to get there in time. They certainly have quite a bit of team fight. Almost there. Roche will go down. Oh wow, the Ice Charge actually manages to cut 3 of them inside the Roche pit with the supports outside. Oh, unfortunately they don't know that, so they're going to go ahead and back out. It's a safe move. And the Aegis will go the way of the Shadow Fiend as well.
I'll take that.
Yeah, Blink Dagger also being grabbed by the Lion here. Like I said, Blink Dagger is quite a bit better than Force Staff for the Lion. He really needs to be able to initiate with it as opposed to be able to get away. You don't really need both, but both is better than one. I don't know. There are also better items for Lion to get, in my opinion. Make him a little bit more tanky. Ags is always good. Things like Veil also really nice. Or, I mean, for crying out loud, where's your Glimmer Cape? And it looks like the Ember Spirit is going to go ahead and grab up BKB as well. That's going to be pretty good. It's not going to save him from the massive amount of physical damage that Shadow Fiend is going to be putting out, especially with the Dazzle. In terms of net worth here, we still have Shadow Fiend with about a 5k net worth lead here. That's huge. So after that 5k net worth, we've got the Ember and the Gyro pretty close together, which are both about 1,000 above the Ember Spirit here, or not the Ember Spirit, the PL. So, actually looking at the net worth graph, looks like the Dire has managed to secure about a 2k net worth lead. Although that, as you can see, is not necessarily going to be permanent. Very lots of up and down this game. Yeah, even after they took that Roshan, they haven't really done much with it. There's only 2 minutes left of that Aegis. But, that being said, the Shadow Fiend has managed to grab his Satanic now. So, once that Aegis is gone, he'll probably grab something like Daedalus or some kind of damage item. MKB maybe for the Gyro's eventual Butterfly. But he is absolutely knocking this farm out of the park. Let's actually go ahead and take a look at the GPM here. 531, that's pretty good. It's not as good as I thought it would be, actually. But that's still pretty good for a mid-game-ish, moving into late-game Shadow Fiend. And he'll also eventually want to sell that mechanism as well.
Dire's
I
top
doubt he'll be
tower
wanting
is
to
under
pick up
attack.
Leaves, so Either Dazzle will build one, or they'll just go without a mechanism in the late game. But you definitely don't want your mech holder being Shadow Fiend past the 50-minute mark. Looks like the Dire is going to go ahead and gear up for bottom T2 switch here. Both sides setting up some wards in advance, but the Radiant does not appear to be in such a good position to be able to defend us.
Radiant's
Actually, looks like
bottom
we're
tower
going to
is
split
under
push,
attack.
and they'll successfully get a tower.
Dyer's top tower
T2
is
top,
under attack.
fortify
Dyer's
used
top
for
tower
the
has fallen.
Radiant there. Gyro ult also being used to kill most of the creeps. Do a little bit of damage. This is risky plays. You don't want to defend this T2. In fact, there goes the line straight onto the that gyrocopter there. Take quite a bit of damage, but the back into the kinetic field with the ult on does quite a bit of damage, and it will drop a lion as well. Tusk going straight onto that Dazzle, or the PL actually, who's managed to grave up. Been graved by that Dazzle there. Shadow Fiend standing right on the wall, taking quite a bit of damage, but he does have that Aegis, but not for too much longer. There it is, Aegis pops, and the Wraith King will just barely make it away with his ult on the line.
Dyer's middle tower
Actually,
is
looks like
under
the Ember
attack.
Spirit managed to return from top. He'll finish off the Wraith King's first life here. Glimpse back into the Shadow Fiend, who will... It looks like he's on the outside, but he doesn't care. He's just going to keep hitting people. Wraith King also, with that second life up and going. Shadow Fiend's actually taking quite a bit of damage from creeps and that illusion there. Looks like Arrow wants to continue to pursue this, but the rest of his team is kind of low. Glimpse is ready again. Really good back in together. Shackles. They're both taking quite a bit of damage, but there goes the Satanic. Look at that HP. Second Gyro ult being dropped there. Creeps being popped. And he's stuck inside the kinetic field for now. Gyro Rocket will do a little bit of damage, but Gyro's really low. I don't know if they can fight this. Oh man, the damage. Down goes the Gyrocopter, and they're committed. BKB popped for a second time. Oh wow, and he'll... Jeez! Oh wow. Just barely. They both kill each other, but it does look like the Shadow Fiend went down first. That's going to be quite a bit of money. Yeah, that kill alone was worth 2 gold. And it went the way of the Ember mostly. But geez, actually no, that entire fight is what's counted in here. So net 2k gold swing for the Radiant there. That's going to be pretty important. But even then, Shadow Fiend still managed to get 1,000 gold from that fight. That's probably mostly in that gyro kill at the very end, but pretty exciting team fight there. Certainly favoring the Radiant a little bit. They managed to counter the T2 loss there and managed to get quite a bit of gold on their supports. Yeah, looks like the Darkseer's going to be going into the Shiva's guard there with that plate mail pickup. Alright, the stream is back online. Yeah, with that, I don't know if he just grabbed it or if he's had it for a little while, but Disruptor does have his Aghanim Scepter right now. I've noticed that he's managed to get quite a few ults off on a lot of people, especially with the help of that Darkseer back. But then of course the BKBs pop, and now at least that will be prevented. No more BKBs, which could be a really great opportunity to kill the heroes like Shadow Fiend, especially since not only can they not activate things like BKB in it, he also he can't activate his Satanic in there as well. So it gives them a you know, about a 5 seconds, or actually it increases the duration as well. Actually, that looks like it increases the damage by quite a bit. The damage stays the same, but the duration goes up by 2 seconds, and you get quite a few more pulses of the storm damage. So that could potentially be pretty game-winning if they manage to get a pretty big Disruptor Ags ult off on the Shadow Fiend, prevent him from activating Satanic, prevent him from activating BKB, prevent him from activating Mech. But of course you also have to grab the Dazzle in there too. If Dazzle's not inside that Static Storm, he can just grave whoever you're focusing on. Kip on the Tusk here. He's suffered quite a bit in terms of gold for the most of this game. Looks like he's grabbing a Perseverance. Not sure what that's going to turn into. I think that could even potentially turn into a Lotus Orb. I'm not sure that's a great item for him, just because it's too expensive. I would have gone something like Medallion early on. Could have been really effective. Reduce some of the armor loss that you feel from the Dazzle, or even just make your physical attacks with Ember a little bit more powerful. Speaking of Ember, he's actually managed to grab his first crit stick now. It's going to make him do quite a bit more damage.
Dyer's
Now, because he has
bottom
option to go
tower
for this
is under
BKB,
attack.
actually gone on, but he'll smell it. because he's opted to go for the BKB here, he's going to have quite a bit less damage than you'd normally see from late game Ember with like a double Battle Fury or double Daedalus or something, but I think potentially this is just to get him through the mid game. So later on in the game, when the BKB reaches 5 seconds, it's going to be way more worth it to have a damage item like the Battle Fury or another Daedalus. And of course, he could always sell his Ring of Aquila. Lion now looks like he's also going for Axe, but it looks like the Shadow Fiend will get caught up. Wasn't able to pop his Axe until he left the ult there, but it doesn't have a whole lot of impact. He's standing on top of the wall. Wraith King goes in, and they're going to burst down that Tusk there. Darkseer caught a little bit out of position now on the tail end of that fight. Not really using his illusion very much. He's taking quite a bit of damage. Lionel will finish him off, and the Radiant will have to back here. That's Shiva's Guard being showed off by the Wraith King as well there. PL making his way towards Heart now. He's got the Reaver. He needs just about another 1,000 gold and he'll have that Heart. Lion also making his way towards his Aghanims. Oh, and unfortunately Roche is just about to spawn. They've got like maybe 20 seconds, but they just missed it. It's at this point of the game where Shadow Fiend really needs to stay for buyback. So he's got a 900 gold surplus. We won't see any major items until he gets that up quite a bit. But he's still farming like madness. Still a good, a good almost 4,000 gold ahead of the next core, Ember. Ember has managed to, with the split push that he's pulling off here, pull a little bit away from the gyro, but he's going to be gone on here by the Wraith King. Only level 15 still. This is not a good fight for Wraith King, honestly. Arrow's got the creeps there. He does way more damage. And it doesn't look like anybody's on the way. They're actually in the Roche pit, which they have spotted now, and it looks like the Wraith King is going to get picked off. Oh, he'll have 60 HP. Arrow pulls back because he doesn't want to push the matter. And they're going to grab Roche. Wow, wow. What a close play. He could have potentially killed the Wraith King and then just kept pushing. I don't think he would have gotten the tower in time, though. Yeah, that's the good part. When you're up, your supports have money for vision out the wazoo, so you can take advantage of a lot of sentry wards and stuff. Although it does look like the Radiant team had a ward here, and I don't think they smoked it. The Aegis also going away, the Shadow Fiend this time as well. And first Daedalus picked up by that Ember Spirit, who already had quite a bit of damage. It's for 854 on those Thunder Hides there. Could potentially be pretty scary if he manages to find a group of PL illusions. Gyro managing to save up 5,000 gold. Don't really know what he's going to be going for. He could potentially build something like a butterfly. He could build also the MKB to counter any kind of butterfly that's going to be built. Another classic is go for his Satanic. Dazzle's also going for a 4-staff now. See that recipe coming out. Still not sure what that Perseverance is going to build into.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
And looks like it's a little bit of split push and not much care. The Dire's going to lose the 2-2 bottom. PL has managed to grab his heart, and they're barreling down that top lane. They're going to grab that 2-2. Okay, I don't think you defend this. Yeah, okay, so a little bit of split push there is going to force the PL to back. It'll make their push a little bit weaker, but I don't think they were going for the T3s anyway.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Darkseer a little bit out of position. If they were to see him right now, that would be very bad.
Radiant's top
All of
tower
them, honestly. They need to be back behind this line. But it looks like the Dare's going to go ahead and back out. Wouldn't be surprised if they tried to smoke here. Yep, and there's the Demon Edge for the Shadow Fiend. They could turn into MKB, could turn into Daedalus, like I said. He's already doing quite a bit of damage, and I think evasion is probably what he needs to be worried about the most, so MKB is probably the name of the game. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen something like a Dezo build on the Wraith King spot here. That I think he's the third core for their team, and something like a Dezo fits really, really well into the lineup there. Even more negative armor, more damage for towers instead of the Shivas. The Shivas is nice. It reduces attack speed, you know, it does a little bit of damage, prevents blinks, that kind of stuff. Also makes the Wraith King a little bit tankier, but it doesn't really do much for his team in that sense.
For the treasury.
He has managed to grab his level 3 ult now, which reduces the cooldown massively. That makes him a lot harder to kill as well. And Demon Edge being picked up by the Gyro too probably means MKB. I doubt it's going to be crits, so expect to see MKB Gyro very soon. And he's got the money for it. Looks like he's probably saving for buyback though. Gyro now looks like he's going for the Veil. It's gonna be pretty good. Lots more magic damage to go with his ult there, and the Gyro, and well, honestly, almost everybody on their team. It's gonna be a pretty solid pickup. Also makes him a little bit tankier. Right now, we're gonna see the Radiant side smoke up and run straight into the Dire team immediately. Look at that damage! Holy crap! All of those creeps there, along with that Battle Fury and the Daedalus, managed to do so much damage. He'll get pulled back in, and Wraith King is finished off. Already it's a 2v5. Dazzle taking way too much damage already. Grave is gone. Requiem is gone. They need to get back right now. BKB is fading. It's already down for the Shadow Fiend here. PL managing to get away a little bit with the Manta there, but the Shadow Fiend will be glimpsed back, walled up, and he's going to take a lot of damage. He still has the Aegis, and he still has a Satanic, but there goes the first life.
Dire's middle tower is
Wow,
under attack.
really great initiation there. Both teams slammed straight into each other. Satanic is popped. He's taking a lot of damage though. Back, stun him up, and he'll go down too. That's a huge win for the Radiant there. 0 for 4, along with an Aegis. That's over 2,000 gold there.
Dire's middle
And
tower
most of it
has
went the
fallen.
way of the Ember Spirit. Actually, that was a separate fight. Looks like they got 1,000 gold just for the Shadow Fiend kill there. So that's almost 3,000 gold they got for that. And of course, the Ember Spirit goes straight to split pushing top. Creep Wave is already there, but so is the PL. And he'll be forced to back a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a look at that gold graph. Yeah, wow. So this is pre-fight right there. About 500 gold advantage for the Radiant. All the way up to more than 3,500 gold. That's ridiculous. No buybacks used yet for the Dire there, although if the Radiant pushes hard enough, they're going to have to force a buyback for that, for the Shadow Fiend there. But he's bought a Broadsword. Actually, it looks like they are going to push bottom pretty hard. Papa gets going on a little bit, but the Ember Spirit is way too scary to deal with. There it is. There's a buyback from Shadow Fiend, and Radiant needs to get back right now. Looks like the Darkseer is caught. He's probably going to be okay because he's got that Surge. Quite a bit of damage going out of that Wraith King already. Also the Darkseer taking a lot of damage. Surge is ready. He's really low, but that's... Oh, he gets purged by the Diffusal Blade there. Wraith King losing his first life. Gyrocopter getting the BKB up. Kip caught a little bit out of position. He'll go down immediately to those. Actually looks like the Shadow Fiend went for a Daedalus there. So that's a lot of damage, additional damage for him. Like I said, he's still going to have to deal with things like evasion. Which could be potentially pretty deadly. So maybe after this Veil on the Disruptor, we'll see something like a Solar Crest or something like that. Still, just a Perseverance for the Tusk. No idea what that's going to be built into. And looks like Ember's elected to go for a Scotty. That's a pretty good item. I like it a lot, actually. It tanks him up, which is what he needs. The attributes certainly give him a lot of armor, a lot of HP, even a little bit more mana, which he needs, but also the ice does, the chilling effect does go onto the heroes and enemies that he's hit with his Sleight of Fist there, so it's going to be pretty good for slowing down enemy pushes, and just adding a little bit more tank overall. A lot of damage there. Ember Spirit being really ballsy. It's 1v1. Crits grabbed, and wow, Satanic popped, and we have one little hit. Can you imagine if that would have crit for like 2,000 damage? And he dies on the spot. Now they all end up backing up. So it looks like, as of right now, the Shadow Fiend still has the 1v1 advantage over that Ember. But that's just how Shadow Fiend works. Roche spawning in a little bit. Potentially in a little bit. That's the flashing ring there is the potential time. It could be anywhere in there. Dazzle will go ahead and check, but he's not in there right now. 4k gold for the PL, saving up quite a bit. We could potentially see him go something like crits. After he's got that heart, there's quite a few items that he could go into, but we'll see what he chooses to do with it. Lion's still working pretty hard to grab that Ags. Darkseer also 4,200 gold. Not sure what he's going to go for. Like I said, Ags is still a great option for him. Adds way more damage to his wall. I personally am a huge fan of the Darkseer Ags Refresher. Just gives you so much more extra damage. The 2 vacuums, the 2 walls, even sometimes 2 surges can be really, really valuable there. It also looks like the Ember's going to be going for a second Daedalus here. He's sold his Tila and bought a Quelling Blade. That's pretty good if you want to be pushing, especially since it'll the Battle Fury damage gets applied as well as the Quelling Blade. So the Quelling Blade makes you do extra damage to the creeps, and if you hit enemies inside the like you hit enemies along with the creeps, they'll take extra damage to the Battle
Dire's
Fury.
bottom tower is under attack.
Actually, it looks like the Radiant here is tired of the split pushing bullshit, and they've decided to try and set up a gank. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Ember. Well, actually, he's headed there right now. He does have his BKB. Or actually, no, he's going for a second Battle Fury. That's why I forgot about the Quelling Blade part of Battle Fury. Here it comes. They know he's there, but they can't see him right now. Actually, they can see him right now. They're ready. There goes the Lion in with the stun. Stunned up. PL goes straight onto him. He's taking so much damage. BKB gets popped and he's out. Wow. So he sacrifices a BKB hit there, surviving only about 600 HP, and that's probably due to the Scotty right there. Saved him right there. When you include stuff like the armor along with the HP that you get from it. And they'll check Roche. Looks like it's going to be about another 30 seconds. 30, 40 seconds there. But he's not quite up. They did pop a smoke for that. And actually now, with those past few fights, Ember's managed to grab the gold advantage over the Shadow Fiend by about 1,000 gold here. That's pretty big. Especially now with that second Battle Fury about to be coming online. He already does 920 crit damage to those creeps. I don't know, something I don't know is whether or not Battle Fury does increase your creep damage. It does! That's actually pretty important, especially when you're talking about fighting enemies in the middle of enemy creeps. So that could potentially increase his damage by a lot, especially if the damage from the Battle Fury stacks in terms of crit percentage damage. I'm not sure if it does, but if it does, that's a whole lot of extra damage. Yeah, there's 1,000 crit versus that creep, with that second Battle Fury online now. And actually, Roche has spawned now. Nobody's spotted it yet. There's a regen rune bottom. Both sides have vision here. It's just a matter of who sees it first. The next Roche could also be potentially pretty important. Doesn't look like the Shadow Fiend has much room for it, so it might not actually go the way of the Shadow Fiend this time. I'm imagining it's going to be PL, who looks like has saved his spot deliberately. And with the ultimate orb there, we're probably going to be seeing a Scotty on the Shadow Fiend as well. This next item he's going to build. That's pretty good as well. It's going to get him quite a bit more HP, which he also needs. And then, of course, just the slowing attack's also really, really valuable. And looks like the Radiance will have gone ahead and spotted that Roshan with the Spirit in there. I wish I could check the vision, but I can't. It's broken. See if they actually see it, because those spirits don't provide a whole lot of vision. It might be the case that it's just barely cut off, like right there, that they cannot see the Roche. Because it doesn't look like they've made a whole lot of movement towards the area. Although they are setting up wards, so perhaps they have seen it. Oh, here we go. Gil's grabbing another item. Looks like a Basher. That's interesting. Probably not that great. I know that Basher used to affect illusions, and it's sort of weird false bash mechanic, but I know for a fact that it does not affect that now. So, but looks like they've spotted the enemy going into Roche. Just the Gyro for now, but they're definitely headed in there with the smoke. Gyro knows though. He'll get stunned up right away. Kinetic Shield only hits one. That goes in though. So does the wall. Disruptor will down on 2, but it's not taking a whole lot of damage. Wow, look at that damage from the Ember Spirit go in, and immediately the PL will drop. Along with the Shadow Fiend too, really low. Oh man, Disruptor falls on the sides, but so does the Wraith King, and Lion just barely does not get away, and that's a 5-for-1. All they lost was a Disruptor on that Radiant side. So up until now, it's been a really even game. Both sides farming pretty well, both sides, you know, trading fights. But after that last one, it definitely looks like the Radiant has an advantage with that super farmed Ember.
Dire's middle tower is under
Once that
attack.
T3 starts taking damage, immediately we see buybacks from both the PL and the Shadow Fiend there. That tower's taking quite a bit of damage. It's quite a few creeps. Also buyback from the Lion. Looks like Lion TP's in here, but he blinks back onto high ground. And the Radiant side will mostly back away. Now, I don't think they're going to go on the Darkseer too hard. They don't want to push their luck. Yeah, that's a risky play going for that Darkseer, especially with the rest of the Dire team nearby. They will skirmish with the Hex. Yeah, unfortunately for Lion, after that buyback, he's nowhere near his
Dire's
axe
bottom
now.
tower has been denied.
Looks like they actually did manage to grab T3, which is denied. That's going to be pretty important for things like vision and stopping creep waves in the future. And the Radiant is right back into the Roche Pit. They just used a smoke on the Dire here, so I don't know if they're going to have another one available. I don't think I can check those. Well, maybe I might be able to check those. Actually, they do have 2 in stock for the Dire, but they don't have any on hand. And Roche will fall, go the way of the Gyro. There is cheese, and Darkseer's going to grab that. And the Dire immediately backs up. They're on defense now. They have to play defense really hard. Wow, the damage there, along with the Scotty Slow, doing quite a bit. Yeah, after the Orb of Venom being picked up by the Shadow Fiend, he's also definitely going for Scotty himself. I don't know, I'm still wondering about this PL Basher pickup. I mean, it gives him a little bit of tank, and of course, if the actual PL is hitting it, wow, like he almost one-shot the Lion there. If the actual PL is the one getting hits, it will of course have the Basher effect. But perhaps he's doing it more for the Abyssal Blade than he is for the actual Basher, which could be pretty good. They only have 1 hero with stuns on their team, or never mind, they do have 2 heroes with stuns. They've got the Wraith King stuns and the Lion stuns, but perhaps maybe something that goes to the BTs. Unfortunately, does not catch anybody out of position, neither does the 5 shards there. Wraith King taking quite a bit of damage. Actually looks like he's probably going to go for either that Dezo or he's going to go for the BTB. Meanwhile, Arrow way out of position. He's going to get grabbed. No way just there. It's on the... well, he'll immediately TP back. Lion goes down. Shadow Fiend taking a lot of damage, but he gets graved up there. PL also super low. He'll drop as well. Wraith King still has his ult there. And then Shadow Fiend will get away. That's the big one. And of course the Wraith King is going to go down. Dazzle Armor on everybody. And he'll also drop immediately. That's one of the first really good Dazzle Graves that we've seen all game. We saw another one bottom, I believe. But it wasn't too great, so... Also because of the Stuck ult, I believe. And Wraith King buying back here as well. They've got no buybacks on the PL. I don't think... Oh, no, they don't have buyback on the PL. They don't have buyback on the Shadow Fiend either, so if he goes down, that's going to be game. Tusk falling to the Shadow Fiend. Shadow Fiend goes down, and that's definitely going to be GG. Yeah, there it is. GG call. And a really close first game. Goes to 61 minutes. Let's take a look at this gold graph, guys. I mean, that doesn't look so intense compared to now, but it was up and down all game for an eventual Radiant victory. Honestly, that came down a lot to teamfight execution. Both teams farmed pretty well. Both teams positioned themselves pretty well. But in the end, the Radiant ended up taking those teamfights because, well, A, they just had better teamfight heroes, and also they played it a little bit better. Alright, guys, don't go anywhere. We're going to come back for game 2. I believe this is a best of 3. And hopefully the next game or 2 will be just as good as the one we just watched. Alright, looks like we're just about ready to go into our game 2 here. Alright, it is a best of 3. So we could potentially see 2 more games from these teams tonight. Game 1 was pretty good. We'll see if we can have any repeat results. Both teams opted for pretty early game, or pretty late game lineups that last time. With Shadow Fiend late game versus Shadow Fiend, PL, Wraith King versus, of course, Gyrocopter, Ember, and Darkseer. But at the end, the Ember just managed to outcarry pretty much everything on the field. It was close though. It was definitely not an easily decided game until pretty much the very end. Here we go.
Radiant team ban.
Okay, moving straight into the first banning phase here, we see Queen of Pain and Doom banned out for bad
Dire
decisions,
team
along
pick.
with Earthshaker and Disruptor for planets. That's definitely disrupted. Respect ban. I believe it was Broden played him last game. Really, really well done.
Radiant team
Like I said, they
pick.
had the combos there to line it up as well. The Darkseer back, the slows from the Gyrocopter ult really make it fun to play Disruptor. I played Disruptor quite a bit personally, and that was a really well played game for him. He consistently got 2 or 3 heroes inside of his ults. And then I remember at least once the Darkseer managed to vac people
Radiant
back
team
into
pick.
the Static Storm after the fact, which is exactly what you want to happen. So first pick here for bad decisions is going to be the Gyrocopter again. Did pretty well last game, not too stellar, but Gyrocopter is a pretty solid carry all around. He's usually not going to over-impress, but almost never going to do so poorly that you regret picking him. And of course, Spirit Breaker picked
10
up by
seconds
Planets here.
remaining.
That's probably going to be
Wind Ranger at
Spirit
your
Breaker
service.
support.
Dire team pick.
I'm still a little wishy-washy on the Spirit Breaker support, honestly. He's really tanky, he gives great initiation, and I have seen
Dire
games
team
where
ban.
Spirit Breaker supports dominate the game because they gank mid and The enemy team can't get a break, and you can't kill him easily even if he gets out of
Radiant team
position.
ban.
All the stuns across the board. But then I've also seen games where you just really need a bunch of teamfight CC or something like that. Or even just skirmish in the lane, and Spirit Breaker doesn't provide any of those things.
10
so
seconds remaining.
he's a bit of an unconventional support, but we'll see if planets can make him work.
5 seconds
Additionally,
remaining.
we've got Wind Ranger on planets. Very, very strong, very in the meta right now. Wind Run being extremely
Reserve
good,
time.
along with the Focus Fire. Doing tons of damage. Shackle Shot, obviously, also ridiculously
Radiant
stupid
team
for the
ban.
angles. And Power Shot with the damage there. Dazzle, once again, really solid support. Grave, armor, physical damage.
Radiant team
Great in the
pick.
lane, great all the way into late game. We'll see if Bad Decisions can make a little bit better use of the Dazzle in this game. Second banning phase, we see the Shadow Fiend and Slardar banned out for Bad Decisions. Both pretty strong heroes. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised they didn't want to pick up those heroes themselves with the Dazzle and the Gyro
Dire
already on the
team
field.
pick.
All of that physical damage could be pretty good. And also Ember and Drow being banned out for planets. Another respect ban for that Ember Spirit there. Winter Wyvern being grabbed as the second support for planets here. I love Winter Wyvern a
Radiant team
lot,
pick.
especially when you see such a physical heavy lineup like a Dazzle Gyro being thrown at you. Winter's Curse obviously is a ridiculously good teamfight ult, really puts them out of position, but of course there's that damage reduction there. You can't kill other
Dire
people,
team pick.
only the cursed target. But goes through BKB, causes the entire enemy team to stop doing what they are doing to stand around and attack your carry. Pretty damn good. Clockwork grab for Bad Decisions as well. Really standard, strong offlaner, excellent at initiating, making space, not dying in his lane. Really good offlaner there. Spectre also being grabbed up by planets. Spectre's a pretty solid carry. She's seen
10
quite a bit of
seconds
popularity
remaining.
right now. She is pretty weak in the lane, but she makes up for that in
5
extreme late
seconds
game power. Lots of pure damage, lots of tank ability later on. It hurts you to hurt her.
Radiant team
So
ban.
we'll see if we can make this work. It certainly seems like, especially with the heroes like Winter Wyvern, that they want to play pretty defensive and go for the late game on the planets here. Whereas the Gyrocopter, the Clockwork, especially with this very pushy Shadow Shaman, makes it seem like Bad Decisions wants to go
Dire
early
team
game.
ban.
And as we move into the final ban stage here, Planets is going to go ahead and get rid of the Lina. I believe they got rid of that one last game as well. And Bad Decisions gets
Radiant
rid of the Witch
team
Doctor.
pick.
Again, I believe Planets already has 2 supports, and they just need probably an offlaner now, although Wind Ranger could mid or offlane. So banning the Witch Doctor doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I suppose they just really don't want to fight Witch Doctor.
The Undying.
Undying, and that will definitely be their offlaner,
Dire
so it looks like
team
a Wind Ranger
pick.
mid. Honestly, this game is looking like pretty even already. Both teams have picked pretty strong heroes, pretty clear strategies. Not very much CC. Well, that's not true, actually. There's a little bit of CC in terms of planets. Laning CC is a little bit low. Wind Ranger Shackle Shot is not too reliable until a little bit later on. But they do have, of course, the Spirit Breaker Charge. Whereas the
10 seconds
Dire
remaining.
have the Shadow Shaman Gyro, which are definitely going to be in a lane together. That's going to be some pretty
5
nasty early
seconds
CC.
remaining.
Well, they'll probably be able to grab a kill or 2 off of that.
Reserve time.
The only problem that I might have with picking the Undying here is the fact that Gyrocopter is like the only counter to Undying, or in terms of Tombstone anyways. So that's a little bit questionable pickup there. There certainly were some good offlaners to be able to pick up still. Things like Centaur come to mind. I don't have the heroes in front of me, so I'm not sure what I would have picked, but Undying is certainly not a bad pick. Just a little bit. And he's not as good as he could have been if there wasn't a Gyro. We'll see with the mid pick here if Bad Decisions wants to add a little bit of late game power, or if they want to just go full on early game push stomp. So you could potentially see things like, I don't know, maybe a Magnus if you really wanted to go for team fight early push. Or if you really, really wanted to push, you could go for something like a Razor and Rush Ags. And of course, this is the advantage of being able to pick first and
Alchemist.
last. They'll go for Alchemist. It's probably going to be an Alch mid. So the lanes are pretty certain, right? It's going to be Alch mid with the Gyro, Dazzle, Shaman, safe lane, Clockwork off. And of course the Radiant there is going to be Undying off lane, Wind Ranger mid, and then the two supports and the carry safe lane, maybe with a roaming Spirit Breaker. So
Prepare.
I'm going to go and roll right into the introductions
battle.
here. On the Radiant, we have Pulesu. On the Wind Ranger mid, it would appear. We've got Fire LX on the support Spirit Breaker, I believe. Gwendril on the off lane Undying. Certainly he's got that stout shield, extra salve, he's going to be off lane there. Heiki on the no doubt support for Wyvern, who's already grabbed her Q. And lastly, Captain Badass on the heavy carry Spectre. On the Radiant, we have on the Dire, we have Captain Kip, who's just smoked on Dazzle. We've got Arrow on the Alchemist mid. Yeah, he's got those two shared tangos. Sam on the Clockwork off lane. Broden on the support
30
Shadow
seconds
Shaman
to
here.
battle.
And lastly, we've got Papa again on that Gyrocopter. This time it looks like they might run into the Spectre here. If they catch that, that could be a pretty important kill, especially since they've got the shackles. They'll be able to lock it down, but they don't actually see her. Or they might have seen her, but it's too far away to go for it. They will pop. And the Spectre will just back off there. It's maybe some potential for level 1 gank there, but it didn't quite happen. But that being said, they will grab
The
that level
battle
1 rune, or the
begins.
first rune there for the Alchemist. That's 500 gold. That's a lot of money. And there's the bottle. Bought it straight up. Alright, and as we move into the lane here, it looks like the Dire's actually going to pull an offensive tri-lane. That's a pretty good move. You're not going to do well against the Undying, especially as a tri-lane. That's where Undying really shines, where you can steal strength from 3 heroes versus 1. And it'll probably be duels. Yeah, it's going to be the Spirit Breaker and the Undying together. And the very defensive Winter Wyvern with the Spectre. I don't know. With this lineup, it seems like the Dire should be able to grab a kill or two, if not on the Spectre, then at least on the Winter Wyvern. Because they're both really squishy heroes early. Spectre doesn't even have 600 HP, and very little armor. Again, Winter Wyvern doing quite a bit of damage with her Q there. It'll be on cooldown for 40 seconds now. And right away, we see the Dire's actually just getting stacks for that Alchemist. Really good move there. It looks like they're, by farming up the Alchemist, they could potentially go for Aghanim Scepter route, although I don't really think they've got the heroes to do it. Certainly Clockwork would benefit from an Aghanim Scepter, but, I mean, heroes like Gyro, probably not so much. So, probably going to be seeing a carry out here, and it looks like they're queuing up to make it really work. Early Ancient stacks. Alright, and it looks like we've also got another pause here. This time on the Radiant. Something about Radiant and lag this series. As of last time, let's go ahead and take a look at the CS score here. Right now is Gwendril leading on that Undying, and he's actually got 5 denies here. Number 2 is Pulesu on that Wind Ranger mid. Wind Ranger certainly has an advantage in the lane earlier on when she's got that range versus the Alchemist, who is very melee and very squishy. But as the lane progresses, that acid spray is going to keep getting worse and worse, and it's going to be harder for her to get on top of the lane. But when Alchemist goes to take a few of the ancient stacks, he's going to catch up quite a bit. Yeah, but of course behind him is the Alchemist, and then the Gyro, who is tied with the Spectre. Okay, this lane is not going to be very pretty for Clockwork either. It's a solo Clockwork against an Undying and a probably mostly roaming Spirit Breaker. But even then, the Undying does so well against other strength heroes. Not only because, the strength steal gives him HP and takes it away, but also because it affects their primary damage as well, which could be pretty devastating, especially if you're 1-on-2. Not to mention, Clockwork really thrives on being able to do quite a bit of damage to his enemies if they get close, and Undying doesn't care at all. Undying can get as close as he wants, and Clockwork really won't be able to push him off of him, so he has to play pretty safely. time it looks like both teams have actually managed to block the pull camp. That's going to be pretty important, mainly for the Dire over here. Stopping this pull camp from happening is going to really make Spectre have to get up in their faces, which is exactly what they want. So, but of course, it also affects Clock, right? It's going to be hard for him to be able to stay in the lane for too long. Or he's going to also have to mince meat with the Undying and the Spirit Breaker there. Alright, looks like we're going to be headed back into the game now after a short pause. Like I said, that Acid Spray doing quite a bit of damage to the Wind Ranger. She's already used one of her tangos. Mainly this is going to be bottom lane watching here. It's probably going to be the most energetic, probably the most important spot to watch. They can manage to grab a kill on that Spectre, or even the Winter Wyvern is going to be pretty important for the Gyro, and also important for the tri-lane. The general rule is if you go tri-lane, you need to win, you need to get kills, otherwise it's not worth it.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Unfortunately for the Alchemist, he got an illusion rune. No bounty rune for you. Actually, despite what I was saying, the Clockwork has managed to push the lane hard enough to make the Undying and the Spirit Breaker back after having tanked the creeps. But it does look like the Spirit Breaker's getting ready for a gank here, either on the Alchemist or on the Clockwork, both of which are not in great positions. And it looks like Spirit Breaker's gonna move into position mid here. Alchemist is pretty squishy, but he does have his stun ready and he does have Acid Spray. Spirit Breaker's still in level 2 though. So it's probably gonna be pretty hard to grab the kill here. But if they manage to land an early Shackle Shot, get the power shot off, there's the charge already. Shackle Shot totally misses. They're gonna charge in. Stun is popped! And they do get a first hit bash and Alchemist will be able to walk underneath the tower. That Spirit Breaker pretty tanky. So do see TP response coming out from Dazzle. Spirit Breaker's getting pretty low, but I think he'll be okay. Yeah. And he's going to be able to back off. It's actually pretty important that Spirit Breaker gets those early kills, because that's how he gets his levels right. He's left Undying to do his solo in the lane, and he doesn't really have any form of income or experience gain from just standing around waiting for failed ganks to happen. So, missing that first gank is not going to be totally it's not going to kill the Spirit Breaker, but certainly doesn't help him. He needs to grab a kill on his next gank. Oh, and we're bounding for the Alchemist again. He gets a DD, although certainly not unwelcome. Rocket is going to go onto this Spectre here. And it'll probably die to the tower, but no. She does do quite a bit of damage. She'll be healed up by that Winter Wyvern there, who has gone Jack of all trades build. Usually when I'm in a defensive situation like this on a Winter Wyvern, I'll probably forego the Splinter Blast. Although I certainly do appreciate the value of being able to slow down enemies as they dive on you. That's certainly very good. I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at the CS again. Looks like the Alchemist has managed to get a 3-point lead over the Wind Ranger, although the discrepancy isn't that high. Still certainly pretty even, and they're both followed by the Gyrocopter, which is surprisingly well. Spectre not doing as great, only at 13, but she's managed to get quite a bit for considering the fact that this is a really nasty tri-lane. Go ahead and take a look at the gold graph here, and it looks like once again the Dire had a significant advantage after about 5 minutes. About a 1k gold lead so far. But they, of course, they do have that Alchemist, which is going to, of course, bias the stats quite a bit. Well, actually, the Clockwork managing to get that Undying pretty low. He does have a Salve, and Spirit Breaker will charge nothing. And I'm surprised that the Radiant, or the Dire Trilon here hasn't been a bit more aggressive. In fact, speaking of that, they're going to go ahead and shackle up that Spectre there. They do have a heal already, but she's taking a lot of magic damage. And there goes Rocket, not quite finishing her off. And they don't have any more mana, but the Ether Shock will manage to finish it off, and that's first blood for the Shadow Shaman. So those first kills are going to be pretty important for the Dire there. The fact that they managed to grab that is pretty important. And it looks like Alchemist finally did get a bounty rune. Yeah, that's a pretty important kill. 200 gold for the side of the Dire there. But most importantly, you take Spectre out of the lane. Stop her from farming. And force her to buy a TP. Level 2 Grave gone for the Dazzle here. That's pretty unusual. Of course, followed by Shadow Wave. I usually like to go a 1-1-3 build. So, level 2 Grave reduces the cooldown by 15 seconds, and of course gets you quite a bit more range. But it doesn't have a whole lot of advantage, whereas the first point in Poison Touch can do actually quite a bit of damage. The slows being very useful, cancel early blinks, that kind of stuff. Maybe it was just a misclick, but it certainly will see use. Or I guess maybe you hope that you don't have to use Grave, because your team never gets low on HP. Well, that's pretty unrealistic. Mid lane, meanwhile, charge onto the Alchemist, but he'll see it coming and manage to get a stun ready in time. Another failed gank for that Spirit Breaker, not looking too pretty for him. He has managed to find his boots though, which is pretty important. So I guess he's not totally devoid of experience. Yeah, he is of course sitting on the very bottom of that hero level. He will charge onto the Shadow Shaman bottom, who's being gone on by the Wind Ranger there. Shackle will go on, Spectre goes, in comes the Spirit Breaker charge. Grave comes out, it'll be good. No heals, he's probably going to try and deny himself to the Roshan here, but he'll end up dying to the Spirit Breaker.
Middle tower is under attack.
Meanwhile, that Wind Ranger got pretty low as well. And of course, that'll buy some time for Alchemist to get farmed up. He's almost at 3,000 gold now. This amount of gold tells me that he's probably going for Radiance first. That's really good if you can get it fast, standard, just like the Naga pick, right? You can get the Naga. Or if you can get the Radiance pretty fast, it can be super, super valuable. The mischance, the burn damage, the actual damage, it can be pretty devastating. And it looks like he's slotted to get it pretty early as well. He's one of the main heroes that they really need to gank. And they don't actually have enough mana for a charge here, unfortunately. Yeah, another important point is that they did last pick that Alchemist. The obvious counter to Alchemist are things like Ancient Apparition, where you can just really prevent that, the regen is what really stops you from killing him, right? For the AA, you can stop the regen, but they didn't get that chance because they did last pick him. Unlike last game, where we saw Planets pick that PL maybe a little bit early into quite a few counter picks. Meanwhile, I've got quite a bit of action going down bottom. Clockwork doesn't have mana for his hookshot right now. He is getting charged by the Spirit Breaker who will come in. Both the supports are now caught way out of position over here. The cores are going to be okay. Looks like Grave comes on for Dazzle, who's going to TP away. Or actually, the Grave went onto the Shadow Shaman, who will be okay. But the Dazzle unfortunately does fall. So, maybe a little bit out of position there. Took too long to set up that gank, and they ended up paying for it. And of course, that kill there for the Spirit Breaker is going to be pretty important for getting his experience back up to par. And he's got a little bit of money to play with now as well. Tenor rune spawning soon. And looks like Alchemist doesn't want to fight for top rune, but got two heroes following bottom rune here, and he does see that. And I should have mentioned that around the 8-minute mark, 7 to 8 minute mark is when you see the first wave of wards go down. And we have started to see the second wave of wards pop up, so we've got a little bit of vision mid for both of them. And actually looks like he's going to be charged mid, but they'll pull off of it, even with that haste rune for the Wind Ranger there. Bottom lane in the meantime, Spectre very alone, getting gone on. See a little bit TP response there. That looks like the Wind Ranger still hasted for a couple more seconds. Dazzle caught pretty badly out of position. He's going to go down for sure. Actually, the Grave will go on. They don't have any stuns that I'm aware of. So he's going to TP, and he's... Oh, just barely goes down there. Grave not quite lasting long enough. Shadow Shaman also getting caught out there. 4-2. The Gyro surviving. Actually looks like the Spirit Breakers rotated in the lane. So now I've got all 5 heroes down here. I don't think that they can push and take this tower, but if they do, it'll be worth it for the rotations. Yeah, especially not with a Clockwork Rocket in there. And Wind Ranger doesn't have her ult either. But they sure are going to try. They've got that catapult. And Pink's come out. And looks like Dire's going to respond by pushing middle as well. So, looks like the Dire is just not going to defend here, and they are going to manage to take this tower. They'd have to spend quite a bit of time, though. And they will take a bit of damage on that middle lane tower as response. Alchemist now about 4,000 gold. Looks like he's sending the crew to the secret shop, so very much expect to see a relic here. Net worth still, we've got of course Alchemist on the top at 5,700. He's more than 1k gold away from that the Wind Ranger there. But then Gyro leading about 600 gold over the Undying, who's leading about 400 gold over that Spectre. So even though the offensive tri-lane didn't get them as many kills as they probably would have hoped for, it certainly did secure them the farm advantage on the cores. And overall, I think they're going to be glad they did it, especially considering the Clockwork is still doing fairly okay. Obviously, he's got quite a bit less farm than the Undying does, but he's got his ult, he never died, and overall, I think the offensive tri-lane paid off for them. Another big thing there is that also the Spectre is... she's not quite a snowball hero, but she's one of those heroes where if she gets behind in the beginning, it's really hard for her to catch up. So this kind of early game punishment can make a big difference in the end. Actually looks like the Dazzle's being gone on here with the Spirit Breaker charge. He's going to get his Grave off in time. No TP right now, but he's definitely going to die to that. Meanwhile, Clockwork going a little bit too hard. He'll hook shot in. Managed to separate the Spectre out, take a lot of damage in the process. Gyro goes down. Clockwork taking a lot of damage. And he'll end up going down to Spirit Breaker now as well. It's 6-1 so far. Honestly, that's just, you know, classic 3v4 there. They didn't have the Wind Ranger, but they were the Dire team was missing the Alchemist and the Shadow Shaman there. And of course, they also have the Radiant team having really good initiation with that Spirit Breaker too. It looks like the Undying is going to go for an early mech, and he's getting pretty close. That's also going to help them push. So even though the Radiant is running a fairly late game team, they certainly are using what early game heroes they have to push a pretty serious advantage and perhaps get that Spectre a little bit caught up. Dazzle very alone here, playing it pretty risky. But I don't think they know that he's alone. It should be noted though that, you know, all of the kills up top are mostly buying time for the Gyro and the Alchemist to farm, who has managed to grab his Radiance now at 14 minutes. That's really good timing. He will get shackled up, but he's got his ult on. He's just not taking damage. The Wyvern ult going down, making that Gyrocopter really low. He'll get his ult off, not quite fall. He'll survive with 23 HP, but he's running into creeps, and he's caught by that Spectre. So far, 1-for-1. They did manage to grab that Gyro, or the Spirit Breaker there. Shackle not quite latching between both of them. Wind Ranger ult being used. Clockwork Hook going straight in on that Wind Ranger, who's now found herself underneath the tower. She'll pop her Wind Run, which is probably going to be okay. They've got their entire team here. Acid, of course, doing a whole lot of work to the entire Radiant team, taking lots of damage. 34 HP on that Winter Wyvern now. Charge coming in from a full Spirit Breaker, but he'll cancel. And they retreat back. So those long-term fights really favor, it looks like it's favoring the Dire. After the few big ults and abilities have been used on the Radiant, except for maybe Tombstone. Looks like the Dire definitely takes an advantage in having the team fights go longer with things like the Acid Spray, the Alchemist Regeneration. Bottom lane here, looks like Alchemist has found himself a DD, and he's going to push that to T1. Of course, the Wind Ranger will TP in to try and stop this. Gyrocopter taking a lot of damage, but he's probably going to be okay. He has Gyro ult, but he hasn't used it yet. Winter Wyvern also taking a lot of damage from that, the Alchemist there. Shackle doesn't land even amongst the trees. Gyro being used on the Wind Ranger, even though that heal from the Winter Wyvern is gone, so Wind Ranger will go down. Another Acid Spray, good plays by the Dire team there. They also managed to rotate in more of their team than they've had before. And they're probably going to end up taking this tower.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Yeah, with the power of that Alchemist farming for them, the Dire has managed to secure more than 2,000, almost 3,000 gold lead here, it's looking like. Yeah, especially now that another tower goes down, that's going to be even more gold. And they have not, I don't think they've managed to grab a kill on that Alchemist yet. It's going to be pretty painful to try and shut him down later on when he's got all that farm. And it looks like the Dire wants to translate into a T2 push. I doubt they're going to get the full tower here. In fact, it looks like they're backing off pretty significantly right now, but just flexing their muscles a little bit. Yeah, Alchemist went ahead and grabbed Boots of Travel here. Make them move really fast, adds into the split push, allow them to farm up pretty heavily, so they are definitely going for the long game. And Clockwork managed also to grab his Blade Mail here. That's going to be pretty important, especially with the kind of bursty nature of the Radiant team here. Blade Mail is going to do a lot of work. There's not a whole lot of tank on the enemy team as well. You've got a little bit in Undying, a little bit in Spirit Breaker, and eventually a little bit in Spectre, but the Blade Mail is going to do a lot of work for him, I believe. It's also just good for the Initiators to have those kinds of counter damage items. Mid lane is going to go down, Gyro ult is going to land as well on 2, but the Winter Wyvern ult is going to go straight on that Alchemist. It's going to take quite a bit of damage, but the regen is just insane. Shadow Shaman wards get dropped, and so does the Grave there on the Alchemist. He's going to go down, but the Tombstone doesn't. In the meantime, though, all of that AoE damage managed to find 3 kills, with the Spectre getting pretty low on the back line.
Do it with flair.
So they did loot the Alchemist there, and that's going to be a lot of money for the Dire, or for the Radiant. Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look. So despite the fact that the Alchemist did go down, that's going to be about a 300 gold swing for the Dire. Should be noted, though, that the Spectre was the one that got the kill on that Alchemist, getting 600 gold for herself there. That's going to be pretty important. It's going to catch her up quite a bit. You can see she's number 4 now. In fact, she has managed to grab her Vanguard now with about 1,500 gold to spare. Vanguard is of course a very defensive item for Spectre. It makes her tankier, makes her a little bit harder to kill, but it's I don't know. I guess the right way to put it is it's just not very snazzy. It doesn't do a whole lot for you, especially not in the long run. It's going to be an item that she eventually sells. It's mainly to get her through the early game slump that she was in, I believe.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Top lane looks like the Dire wants to try and push the tower a little bit, but the Wind Ranger, actually the majority of the Dire team is defending here. Clockwork though with an Invis Rune heading up behind them. They've got the creeps to be able to dive under, but they don't have an Alchemist ult for another 20 seconds unfortunately, so they won't be able to use that. Undying going a little bit forward here. He doesn't know about the Clockwork, of course. It looks like they're mostly going to back off.
Coming in.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Now, one thing I really like about Dazzle is that he is super capable of clearing waves with his heal. If you had a heal bomb right now, the entire enemy wave would die. It's a lot of money, and that's also a lot of push for the Dazzle. Gyrocopter. We actually haven't looked at the items a whole lot this game, so we'll go ahead and take a look at Gyro right now. He's managed to farm himself up a Dom, and it looks like he's going for a Sanj now, in addition to his Aquila and Phase Boot, so he's doing pretty well. He's number 3 on the boards, just below the Wind Ranger there. Of course, the Alchemist is doing extremely well on farm. He's got his Boots of Travel, and he actually grabbed an Ultimate Orb here. I'm not entirely sure what that's going to turn into. Best guesses would be something like a Scotty, but also Manta is very viable for an Alchemist. Things I actually really like on Alchemist nowadays are Octarine Core. Basically, with Octarine Core and level 3 ult, you will always have it. It's a little ridiculous because the duration lasts for 25 seconds and the cooldown is 45. I think it turns something like you end up with only like 5 or 7 seconds without your ult, which is almost never is the answer. So I like Octarine Core. It also makes him a little bit tankier, gives him a little bit more mana, even though he doesn't really need it. In addition to that, looks like supports have grabbed their arcane boots. Dazzle is headed for the mechanism, of course. Winter Wyvern grabbing an urn. It's pretty good. Extra heals are nice, of course. She actually also managed to find a Radiant jungle ward here, or a Dire jungle ward. But no upgraded boots, unfortunately. She's the poorest of them all. About 1,000 gold above that. Spiritbreaker also going for urn. That might be a little bit of miscommunication there, and he's also got his treads. Undying, finishing up his mech a little while ago. Actually looks like the Alchemist is going to get charged on, but not before he gets quite a bit away. Dazzle Armor goes down, mostly defensive, but looks like the Alchemist is going to be mostly okay. He doesn't have his ult ready though, so he's going to be taking quite a bit of damage. Spiritbreaker taking a lot of damage inside that acid though, and will the Undying as well. Wow, actually, I did not know this, but the snake wards can actually damage the tombstone. That's actually pretty big. Meanwhile, Gyro going really heavily onto those 2 cores right there, or the Wind Ranger and the Winter Wyvern. The rocket will actually manage to finish off that the Wind Ranger there, and maybe a little bit misplaced Cogs will allow the Wind Ranger to get away, but only temporarily. All in all, that was a 4 for 1. So quite a bit of gold going the way of the Dire there as well. Most of it going the way of the Clockwork and the Gyro. Both heroes that sorely needed it, or at least they needed it way more than the Alchemist needed it. Let's put it that way. And speaking of which, the Alchemist has managed to grab a Yasha, which means he's definitely going for Manta next. It's gonna be Manta. That's good. It tanks him up, gives him a little bit more split push if he wants it.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
Also allows him to disjoint certain things like the Spirit Breaker stun. I don't know, it's a pretty good item all around, stats, that kind of stuff. In the meantime, Spectre's managed to grab about 3,200 gold. I'm expecting to see a Radiance here with that much gold saved up as well, but it's not going to have quite as much impact as the Alch Radiance has had, obviously, because it's nowhere near as early in the game. But it'll definitely still have its purpose.
Fortune's changed.
Back to the items here. Wind Ranger's actually managed to finish up her Ags just recently, it looks like. That's a pretty big item for her, even though her ult is still on level 1. I think that might have been a misclick, because you definitely want to grab your level 2 ult on the Wind Ranger, especially if you're going for Ags. It changes the 30% to 15% damage reduction, which is almost negligible. Then of course when she gets that level 16, very, very nasty with that Ags. Also of course reduces the cooldown to very, very low. 20 seconds, I believe. No, 15 seconds actually. The duration is 20 seconds, so she could pretty much always use it if she wants it. Very nasty, especially up against the relatively squishy heroes like Alchemist. Looks like they're managing to finish off these stacks here. 2 very capable heroes, the Alchemist and the Gyro, both being extremely good for clearing massive stacks of Ancients. And with that, actually, the Gyro will move up to number 2 slot, just above that Wind Ranger and farm. And he looks like will finish off his Sanjin Yasha here. He just needs a recipe. Dazzle will also grab the mech. That's surprisingly early for a 5-slot support. That's going to be pretty important. Oh, they'll smoke up though, and Wind Ranger. Oh, why did she go forward like that? Shield. No, she's not going to get caught. Instead, Shaman will go for that Spirit Breaker, who's going to take a lot of damage. Shaman not getting his words off. And the Spectral, quite a bit of damage being done there. So far, 1 for 1 though. Alchemist stun being launched right onto the Winter Wyvern. Doesn't get her heal off, and she will go down as well with that Alchemist. On the back line, looks like the Dire is just chasing right after them, although Dazzle taking a lot of damage here. He'll end up graving himself. He should pop the mech now. And dying, taking quite a bit of damage, will also pop his mech with the Gyro ult. Oh, we'll get him down to 15 HP, and the Radiance Burn will finish him off. Triple kill for Alchemist now. Spectre way hurting. And she'll actually end up going down here too. That's going to be a 4 for 1. Yeah, they did indeed grab that the Shaman there at the beginning, but that's an ultra kill for that Alchemist. That's a lot of gold going his way. And they'll probably also get a T2 out of this. But Spectre did manage to grab her relic before she went down, so she didn't lose all of that unreliable gold. That's going to be pretty big. If she can manage to finish off that that Radiance anytime relatively soon, it's still going to have quite a bit of impact. And instead of pushing that high ground, looks like the Dire is going to elect to push that T2 middle once they've got the Shaman wards up there now too. That's going to be pretty easy. But Clockwork caught out by that Wind Ranger, and he'll end up going down.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
That's a little bit out of position there, getting a little bit too far up. But they're not going to go on him, and he'll be okay.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Alchemist straight back to farming, more than double, or almost double the gold of the next highest player. But that's Alchemist for you. I know Alchemist has seen a lot of play recently. Obviously, the amount of gold that he can bring in is a little obscene. Well, looks like Wind Ranger once again using that Aghanim Scepter, managing to grab the Dazzle, who would just barely get stunned out of that TP by the Spirit Breaker. Alchemist in the back, being gone on by about 4 heroes here. But Spectre dying on the back lines, that's a pretty big kill. But it looks like the Alchemist is also going to fall here, and that's an even bigger kill. Spirit Breaker actually ended up grabbing that kill. It's unfortunate for the Wind Ranger there. They really needed the money on her. But that one kill, this is what I was about to go into, was 4,000 gold for 2 kills. Most of it went from the Alchemist kill, of course. The way that net worth works, like the fact that Alchemist has double the gold of the next highest player means anytime you kill him, you get so much money. And the issue is that Alchemist cannot make as good use of that money as a normal carry would. So if it was Spectre with double the gold, Spectre would not have died there. Spectre would have destroyed everyone with double the gold. But it's an Alchemist, and the majority of Alchemist's abilities, or at least half of them, are focused on farm. He's relatively squishy. He's just not that great with the money. Sure, it's a lot of money, and actually a really great Shackle being grabbed by the Wind Ranger here. We'll finish off that the Shadow Shaman again. She's been all over the Dire supports, which has to be really annoying, grabbing the Dazzle, grabbing the Shadow Shaman constantly. It's been pretty effective, especially since a lot of the early teamfight wins were because of the supports. Things like Dazzle Grave not being available, or Shackles not being ready. I think one of the fights they didn't even get Serpent Wards off because of the Wind Ranger managing to grab the Shadow Shaman there. But the Dire is going to go ahead and run straight into Roche Pit. They know, the Radiant team certainly knows. They've got the ability to see in there. But there's not a whole lot they can do with it. The Alch going in alone, of course, and it looks like with that Soul Booster, he is going to be going for Octarine Core now. Rocket mainly being used for scouting, I believe.
Boom! There it goes.
Also, a Force Staff being grabbed for Clockwork, and definitely Axe Nick. Looks like the Radiant team wants to get in there, but I don't know. The Alchemist is tanky. Spectral goes in, so does the Shadow Shaman with his Blink Dagger. Gets its Shackle off onto the Wind Ranger along with the wards down. Wind Ranger will get bursted down along with the Undying, and oh man, that's a 4 for none. Great grave coming out on that on the Dazzle for the Alchemist there. And that was what I was worried about. With the entire rest of the Dire team sitting up on these edges over here, running in on the Alchemist, who's already pretty tanky, is a super risky move. Especially now that Shadow Shaman shot off his Blink Dagger, ran straight in onto that Wind Ranger, reduced so much damage, and got the wards down, of course. Really great play by Broden there. And of course a good grave coming out from the Dazzle as well. Dire is now going to be able to grab that the Roshan there. And a pretty unfortunate turn of events for the Radiant. Yeah, after that fight, sitting solid 15k gold in the lead for the Radiant, but once again, Alchemist inflates those stats quite a bit. But yeah, so I'm a little apprehensive to use Alchemist because of the things like the net worth discrepancies that happen when he dies. The fact that he can't really use the money as well as other carries can. So let's imagine Alchemist gets like fully 6-slotted in 30-40 minutes. That's great, but he doesn't get any better past then. And he needs to be able to go into the late game with the kind of gold that he's packing. He also sucks up a lot of farm from the other cores, you know, especially with the split machine farming build. But in the meantime, looks like the Dire is going to go ahead and push this T3 here, but Tombstone is going to push the creeps back and prevent a whole lot of damage from happening. Octarine Core being finished up by that Alchemist there. It is a full 7 seconds you have to wait without your Alchemist ult, which is almost nothing. Well, he'll actually use the Manta there to finish off the Tombstone. Pretty good move. Acid goes in, does quite a bit of damage to the heroes, and they're going to have a full creep wave ready now. Oh, Shackle Shot just barely misses, and he's going to go a little bit on the Undying there. He does have that Aegis. Wyvern ult is available. In goes the Shadow and straight onto the Spectre. She'll go down really fast. Arrow taking lots of damage. Spirit Breaker going down. However, the Wind Ranger is on the back lines doing a lot of damage. In comes the Winter Wyvern ult straight onto the Gyro, but they can't do any damage to the Alchemist while he's being... Oh man, that's a full 5.
Tower is under attack.
That's definitely a set of barracks and maybe GG.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Especially with the Shaman wards there. They do have the T2 bottom, so they might be able to push this bottom as well.
Radiant's
And actually
middle
looks like they're gonna go
barracks
straight for
have
the T4s. This could potentially be it, even though the spawn times are pretty low. Actually no, they're gonna pull off and go for bottom instead. Full 25k gold for the Dire. Dazzle armor going on as well, and that's gonna be a second set of barracks, I believe. No fortify. Actually, there is a fortify to be used by the Radiant. They've smoked out of their base. I'm not sure what they want to try and do here. Shadow Shaman being gone on. No wards. Spectral going down. Gyro just chipping away those barracks. Meanwhile, Dazzle taking a lot of damage. He'll end up graving himself. Heals go on to the Spirit Breaker. And he's going to end up going down anyway. Gyro goes down, and that'll finish off the Undying. I think the big problem there was that it didn't have the Wind Ranger, so it was 4v5. Even though the Dire didn't have any of their big ults to use there. Shadow Shaman again. Oh, he might actually make it away. With the blink away, he's going to survive, but very close. 100 HP left. That's one right click away for the Wind Ranger. Who has managed to grab her blink dagger as well. Looks like she's probably going for BKB next. No GG is called. They think they're going to try and wait it out. See if they can maybe get Spectre a little bit more farmed. But the Dire says they want to finish right now while they've got this big advantage. Gyro grabbing a Butterfly and Sanj and Yasha just in these past 5 minutes. And they are pushing really hard up this high ground. Alchemist still has that Aegis. And this is going to be a really tough fight to win for the Radiant. Undying getting caught a little bit out of position here. If they go down without a Tombstone, and they do get the Tombstone off, Undying getting healed up quite a bit. Alchemist taking a lot of damage here, but he'll be okay. And geez, immediately go down. 4 heroes, everybody but the Wind Ranger's dead already. Wow. Just so much damage on the way of the Dire now. This is the part where Alchemist really tends to take over. If he can get farmed enough to buy space for the rest of his team to win team fights and farm as well, that's where the money coming in from Alchemist just becomes ridiculously good, and they definitely use that to their advantage, especially with things like the ancient stacks that they managed to get, the really heavy push power that they got with heroes like Shaman and Dazzle. Overall, really solid win. Probably, it's not technically over yet, right? I guess we'll wait for the actual end of the game for the eulogy. Yeah, buyback on Wind Ranger here. They're not giving up, but Alchemist is going straight onto the Ancient, doing a lot of damage, along with the Shaman wards as well. Shaman will manage to fall here to the Wind Ranger, with the Wyvern ult being used to stall that Alchemist. But there's just so many creeps, and the Shaman wards, and that's going to be GG. Alright guys, wow, much faster, much more discernive, that's not a word, much more discerned game 2 here with Planets versus We Make Bad Decisions. A pretty solid win 2-0, and overall good games. Thanks for watching guys, and thanks for playing.